Hey, hey, how you guys do to reveal the top secret ingredients? And first of all, I just let you know it's all about apples today. This is a what did you make us?
The apple pie milkshake.
This is an apple pie milkshake with cinnamon, a little bit,
Cinnamon nutmeg.
Cinnamon, nutmeg, and a little
cinnamon,
lot of,
nutmeg. I mean, look at this. It's just amazing.
lot of love.
So, anyways, let me give you this top secret. It's going to be about the cook, how you cook it. So, what we're doing here is we're starting off with a lot of apples, and we got a deal. How many apples did you buy, John?
Well, we picked them off the trees in the back.
So they picked them off the trees in the back and got a whole crate for what?
It took us about 8 hours.
8 hours. Okay, pick the apples, $50, but you had to go pick them. And then we're doing this here. We're spinning them, and that's an apple spun, and that is going to be used. What are you going to do with the extra apples? You're going to
Residual, yeah.
do with the residual.
Yeah, we're gonna.
So here, what we're doing, and we'll get to the cook here in a second. And that water's dirty because we're putting apples in it. We're cutting.
Lemon water.
It's lemon water. So we put lemon in the water. These are the final product, and we're cutting everything out. So there's not like anything on them. Maybe a skin here or there, but for the most part. And then what we're doing is we're putting them in this pot right here. Okay. So here's the top secret. I'm going to show you. It's what you want is you want to get applesauce that's chunky, which is almost impossible to do pressure cooking. Now, anybody can make it, put it in the refrigerator for a couple months or a couple weeks or whatever, but if you pressure cook it, you can have the same dish for 5 years if you want to. And so what we're doing here is we're cutting them, and we're cooking them on low heat. We're kind of like caramelizing them, and we put a little bit of cinnamon in here. We don't add sugar to any of this, okay? And we'll cook this down, and then we'll do this in 3 layers. We'll put another layer on top of this, about that high. And then the last layer, we don't put in until the end, and I'll tell you why. So we want to cook this layer so we have like a different cooked apples, all right? Then what we're going to do is once this is done, we'll take this off, and we'll set it on a table here, and then we'll add another third apples, okay? And these apples aren't cooked because what happens is when you pressure cook them, they turn to mush, and that's not what we wanted to have, chunky apples, okay? And I'll show you what they look like in a minute. So the trick was to start off with a batch that wasn't completely cooked, all right? And then what we would do is we come here and we pressure cook it. So we're going to vent it for 10 minutes, okay? Now, depending on where you live, we're supposed to be using 10 pounds, but we're not, because if we use 10 pounds for 20 minutes, like the cookbook says, it's going to come out like baby food. And you're going to have to feed it to your babies. It won't be chunky. We don't want baby food. So we're going to drop it, and we've experimented, and it worked. And we'll take that gauge to 5 psi, and instead of 20 minutes, we're going between 10 and 13 minutes. And then what we'll do is we'll fill these jars. And that's a 941 American canner. I'll put a link below if you're interested, but that's the biggest canner. It's the canner of the planet. It has no gasket. It's amazing, this canner right there. I'll leave a link at the bottom where you can get one. Well, anyways, we're going to fill one of these bottles, and after they're done, they're going to look like this. All right? And that's one batch. We're going to do 2 batches today. And I'll show you what they look like. We did a batch earlier, and this is what they look like. This is a batch that we did, and we're in a barn kitchen, so we're using propane, and you'll see that the consistency here, like look at this, that is still an apple, okay? And like this apple here, look at that. This apple is still crunchy. So what you got here is applesauce crunchy, and that's what you want. You don't want, some of us have teeth. We can still chew this stuff, okay? If you cook this like they tell you, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have baby food, all right? So we kind of store them up here. We did 12 the other day. And when you pressure cook, this stuff is good for probably 10 years. 10 years or so. Like, I pressure cook a lot. This is this is I call garden soup, and it's pretty good. This has got collard greens in it, and it's got cabbage and a bunch of other stuff. When you pick your garden, you just use what you got. And so I'm gonna sit down back here. And hey, thanks for coming on. And I'm gonna drink my apple pie milkshake. Thanks for coming on.